Today I'm going to be telling the story of my rapid weight gain that I experienced in 2025. And my whole life, I was really athletic. I always did a ton of sports. I was essentially a string bean, almost too thin, going into my mid-20s. And through corporate America and just how uncomfortable I felt with my life direction, my profession, it became very interesting because I was never in a better financial situation on paper, net worth wise, and what I was doing to the outside eye was important work, but I did not feel great inside. And one of my coping mechanisms through this period was to just eat and eat. And it really started with just going out to restaurants every single day. This was a period when I was really drinking a lot. I had a lot of beer. I lived in the Carolinas during this period as well. So like IPAs, if you know anything about like the Carolinas too, barbecue is it's pretty good down there, So I was ripping barbecue, ripping anything fried. So some home cooked meals, some Southern loving was going into my belly. And with that came the consequences. I was gaining rapid weight. I really am not kidding when I say I gained like 35, 40 pounds in like a 6-month period just from excessive eating. And I would have 2 Blue Moons, big mugs. I would have an appetizer, I would have a fried entree and a dessert all in one sitting. So essentially multiple days of calorie intake was happening at once. It was a scary period for me, and I had to shake myself out of it. Now, is this the best way to do it? I don't necessarily know, but I left that job because I just really knew that was the core of why I was unhappy. And with that, I started exercising again. That freed up a lot of time for me. And I told people in my video the other day that I just walk around this track at the park where I'm recording this video for like 3 hours a day right now because I'm unemployed. And it's great. It's a healthy way to really get myself back into the groove. And for somebody that literally spent, 5 to 8 hours playing sports like a day as a kid, and not having that structure in my life right now, this is a good bridge to kind of get me back in that direction. But the first thing I really did to start losing weight again, it might sound simple, but I got a Planet Fitness Black Card membership. I did dry January in 2026 because it was to the point where, the holiday season hit and all my family members came up for Christmas and we were trying to take pictures with each other, and I just felt extremely uncomfortable, with how I was looking. And like I said earlier, people don't necessarily want to offend you for the most part when it comes to that. But I kind of needed, I feel like, somebody to be honest with me and say, Tyler, you're really kind of like letting yourself go in this regard. Is everything okay? That would have helped. But the way I internally shook it off was doing the dry January. I felt like that was a good restructure. And at Planet Fitness, I did more so muscle endurance on their base machines. A lot of them were like the seated machines. If you've gone to Planet Fitness, like triceps, the bicep curls. I was doing some leg press as well. But I think a lot of the success I had with the initial just shedding weight was with elevated walking. So I did a 3.5 incline and I walked for hours every single day. And when I tell you I was eating extremely clean, I really mean it. I just found something inside me to where I could just eat chicken breast, avocado, blueberries, Greek yogurt essentially every day. I mixed in some like eggs and some omelets But I was really diligent because I wanted like that first month and a half to be just shedding, and then we can kind of set the foundation from there and add some more stuff in as we go. But the success of that first month, I mean, I lost 20 pounds just doing that. And then over the course of the following few months, you know, I was still battling depression, and I was still coming out of that period of my life. But I already had, you know, a good core group of meals that I could rely on. And with that, you know, I'd lose probably like a pound every week, every 2 weeks. And we kind of got back to where we are right now. I feel pretty good about the shape I'm in. You know, I'm 26 years old, soon to be 27 years old. And with that, you know, I gotta start taking better care of my body. And I'm fully aware of that. You know, that means going out less, drinking less alcohol. That means more protein, daily exercise. That's a non-negotiable for me now going forward. Because the job I worked at, I would hop from high school to high school quite a bit for like half the year, but really eating Taco Bell and McDonald's and like all these other, you know, foods that aren't really that good for you every single day, that adds up, and that negates really any bouncing around you do. And that doesn't mean like to say right now I'm a true stickler, like some of these like food influencers you'll see, you know, on Instagram Reels or anything like that. I still have, you know, an ice cream cone with my girlfriend from time to time, and, you know, I'll still go out on occasion, but it's coming from a lot different of a mindset for me. I feel like you have to find it within yourself to want to make that change. And I had a buddy, my best friend in the world, he was holding me accountable, and he was going through a similar experience, a similar journey, and he also was able to lose 50 plus pounds, really. And I'm extremely proud of him. You know, he was able to do a similar thing. We would check in on each other. We would text each other, you know, at least weekly, kind of saying, oh, this is what we're seeing on the scale. This is what I've been doing, trying out, experimenting with. I didn't have a personal trainer. I didn't have a fitness coach. I was kind of just going with what I knew to be true. And in America, you know, a lot of the foods nowadays have a lot of added ingredients, a lot of things you shouldn't be investing in and throwing into your body. But with that, I also downloaded an app where I can kind of scan labels and see if they're good for me, if they're worth, you know, spending my hard-earned money on to add into my diet. And they'll give you kind of like a score, and they'll tell you if there's any additives. They'll tell you if there's anything that could be harmful for you long term. I know eating organic for a lot of families is pretty expensive, but it's worth it. It's worth it, you know, because at the end of the day, we don't really want to be poisoning our bodies. We want to be taking care of ourselves. And really, this whole summer, I plan on just walking around this track, walking around trails for multiple hours a day to offset, you know, any semi-bad things I might be putting into my body, of course, and trying to stick around, you know, a 2,000 to 2,500 calories per day mindset. I've done a lot of other simple things in recent months, too, to really capitalize on this and kind of hold firm where I'm at. And one of those big changes for me was black coffee. A lot of people, I understand if you want some flavor, I totally get that. But if you're starting your day with a large, you know, caramel swirl with extra sugar in your coffee, it's 500 plus calories right there, you know. And if I use those 500 calories on like Quest protein chips or like a yogurt shake or something along those lines instead, I mean, that's just going to compound over time and really, really help me out in that regard. And thankfully, I think it makes it a lot easier that I love chicken, I love steak, I love a lot of those type of nutrient-dense meals that you could really work around. And those have been like a true lifesaver for me. I've gone to Aldi. They have like bags of chicken breasts where you can get like 7 or 8 chicken breasts for like under $10. You know, even nowadays with the economy like it is, that's a great deal. And they have salmon bags. You can watch how you cook them, of course, but eating good food until you're full makes a world of difference. And I don't really know if I'm ever going to go back to doing distance running, because when I was in college, I was really running, 5 to 10 miles a day. And like my cheekbones and everything, it was a lot different than it is right now. Like like I almost looked unhealthy how thin I was. So I kind of want to get to that happy medium and kind of stick through that. But yeah, it was such a journey, guys. It really was. And it's almost difficult to look back on and reflect, and these videos really help me with that. But I'm almost ashamed. I'm ashamed that I let it come to that, and I'm glad that I was able to fight through and change my routine, change my mindset, and get to where I am now. Thank you for watching.